So why is project management important to an instructional designer? Well, when I get asked this question, I almost don't know where to begin because it's kind of like asking, why is writing important to an instructional designer? It's in every single thing we do as an instructional designer, we're encompassed in the project management process. So it's something that we are a part of, something we need to understand, and something we need to be able to do. There are so many reasons. I'm going to list a couple and just kind of talk through, why it's really, really important for an instructional designer to not only understand the process, but be able to do it and understand the basics. There are just so many elements of instructional design that are encompassed in the PM process. You really need to understand it. And I would say that none of these are more or less important than the other, depending on what company you're in, it's going to vary. But it's super, super, super important. When you first start a job or an internship, you need to understand those basic elements. But as you, move through and get promoted from instructional designer, a lot of times you'll take on team lead or be in charge of a project, and play that PM role or that /PM/instructional designer role for a while. I've had students after a few months of working have been promoted to project manager. So it's super, super, super important you understand that process, understand the basics, so you don't just walk in there and say, well, I don't know what to do. It'd be like walking in as an instructional designer into your first project and someone asking you to write a proposal and you saying, I don't know how to write. It's that important. It really is. It's a very important skill, really important to study it. Okay, so having said that, what are some things that an instructional designer, not as the project manager, but as the instructional designer, why is it important? What are some things you have to do? I would say one of the big things right away, and I've already mentioned it, is proposals. So as an instructional designer, you're going to be asked to help get work. I've been at large and small companies. Even I've also been internal, and at all those places I've had to get work. What does that mean? Well, at a large company or a small company, we have to go to clients and try to get projects from them. So when we're in the meetings talking to them and during the proposal, everything you're writing about is mostly PM project management stuff. Even internally, I've had to go out and find training projects within a company, and a lot of that is understanding the management process, because you have to understand how to communicate with each of those, divisions, teams, what they need, what their needs are, how to do everything. So that those proposals, the white papers, I've even done very small miniature proposals where it's really the PM process. I write about instructional design and project management. It's never just one or the other. All right, understanding how to read your schedule and your chart, understanding what a Gantt chart even is, so you can, you're going to be given a Gantt chart by your project manager, and you need to be able to look at it and understand how instructional design fits in the PM, so you know where you fit into the larger picture. They may be implementing multiple interventions, not just training, and you need to know where and how you fit in, so you make sure you, are meeting everyone else's needs in the team. And then we have time and budget. That's an instructional design skill, important for project managers, super important for project managers. So as an instructional designer, I need to know how long something takes to do so that I can communicate with my manager and make sure that it fits in with their needs, the client's needs, and everyone else's needs. So you have to understand how time fits into the equation. And then right along with time goes budget. How much is it going to cost? As the instructional designer, when I first started as an instructional designer, I wasn't as concerned about cost as I was with quality. I always went into a client telling them, almost saying like, why would you do this when you can make it so much better with it? And, not understanding what their budget really was. I'm talking 20 years ago. So, now I have a much greater understanding of how important the budget is. One of the first pieces I ask about is, what are you looking for? How much can you spend on this? And then we kind of go through what are options. But that understanding that budget piece is really important, and that's coming in from the PM perspective. Just in general, understanding the project management process, understanding where instructional design fits into initiating, execution, closing, monitoring, where do we fit in? How do we fit into that? So we can make sure that when, hey, I see someone doing a front-end analysis, I can say, is an instructional designer involved in this? Because if there's a training intervention, we need to be involved in that solution. I can make sure I jump in and, catch on to that, things like that right away. Just even understanding how to communicate with management, how to communicate with clients, what you're supposed to do, how you schedule, organize meetings, and things you're supposed to do and things you're not supposed to do, like things like status reports and things like that, especially when you get put into that instructional design / maybe you're in charge of a project role. And you've never been trained as a project manager, so you don't know that, hey, I should probably have some kind of weekly status report. I should probably be doing this. I should probably, you don't know what you don't know, which is why you need to understand PM. Another big thing, understanding what scope creep even is, let alone how to deal with it and what you're supposed to do when that happens. Because I guarantee it's going to happen on every single project, and you have to know what to do. So even understanding terms like that and how to deal with them is extremely important. Just one probably final thing I want to mention here, and I'm sure there's tons more that I can go into, but I've given you a good list of things so you kind of know that, hey, this is super important. It's just, how to even give a presentation. Like, how do I present to management? What do they expect to see? How do I organize a presentation so that it's, what someone in that position is looking for? How do I speak to senior management versus speaking to the end user? And how do I do a presentation for them? And that goes all the way back to the beginning with that proposal. How do I present that? How do I pitch something? You're not, as an instructional designer, you're not always trained to do that. We're trained to be an instructional designer. So PM is really, really, really important. We get into that, there's all these ends of PM that are really important to understand, and we've got to, learn how to do them. So, having a project management course or understanding the basics is really, really, really important to the instructional designer. Thank you.